Welcome back, boys and girls, to another episode of K-Fave Comparisons. My name is Mr. Knowitall, Daniel John Schafer, and I am joined here once again by the king of K-Fave kickflips, Mr. Wex, breaking the Lawson. Wex, how we living today, bro?
Living pretty good, you know. It's a Thursday. It's less than a week away from my birthday. AEW is going to be in Nashville live, so I just can't stop thinking about wrestling coming to town at my birthday. I'm pre-gaming as of now, all ready for my birthday.
Love it. I love to hear it. Makes my heart happy. I love all of that. Yeah, man. You know what? We had a really good show last week with the Rumble. We had Mr. Jesse Baker on, and Mr. Jesse Baker will be on next week with the second edition of the Baker's Dozen. But this week, we're covering GCW again, and we're also covering In Your House Final Four from 1997 from the WWF. We're like right at the beginning of the beginning of the change. I wouldn't even say the beginning of the Attitude Era. We're like the beginning of the change.
Ooh. I mean, this is basically like the flipping of the switch, because if the Bret Hart promo and just like everything about it, you can tell they're shifting that way.
Yeah. I'll say it this way: we're at the dying days of the new generation. We're not quite to the Attitude Era yet, but we're getting there. It's very close. I'm excited about this week's show, but before we get into the show, it is both of our favorite segments at this point, and it's Wex Lee Fills the Tea. Wex, fill up my cup, baby. Fill me up.
The tea. We're about to fill it up this week, and first off, we're going to start with that WWE tea like we always love to do. And this week, WWE Raw suffered its lowest viewership ever.
Wow.
It's because it was preempted by the Winter Olympics, and it was on the Sci-Fi Network. So it's not regular circumstances for a Monday Night Raw, but still, that is pretty historic that they have the lowest rating of all time for a Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, especially leading into WrestleMania season. That's not something that you ever want to see. It'll be interesting if they bounce back on Friday. And, you know, actually, you guys will be listening to the podcast at this point, so I guess we would know by then. But, it'll be interesting to see if they bounce back in the ratings on SmackDown.
Yeah, well, one of the big things in the news last week, again for us, was Shane McMahon hearing that he got fired, but it turns out he actually does still work for the company in some capacity, but anything to do with TV or creative or anything, nowhere near that shit.
I think he's talent released. I think he's still
no, he's
I think
still
he's wrestling released, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He works in the office, but he's not signed as an active performer, so that does make sense. And supposedly there was like so many changes from the Royal Rumble that inadvertently there were so many changes at the Royal Rumble with Shane McMahon and all the stuff that was going on. It actually inadvertently caused something with the production because they didn't get the sheet updated. And he was supposed to go out at 29, but at 28 his music hit instead, and it was supposed to be Randy Orton going out at 28. And then Randy Orton was like, no, I'm not going to fucking go out to Here Comes the Money. So Shane had to like scramble and hurry and run out there. And then apparently Randy Orton just fell on the ground laughing, was like literally just like rolling around laughing his ass off on the ground at Shane McMahon as he was just like, fuck that shit. I'm not going to go out to your theme song. You better go out now. I don't care if you wanted to go 29.
Yeah,
y'all shouldn't have changed it so many times. That's great. Randy Orton was just like laughing at him, was like, fuck you. You better get out there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Pretty ridiculous. So I guess the Shane McMahon saga is now over for the moment.
Yeah, we'll see. Wait till Vinnie Mac dies, man. God, that's going to be a hell of a storyline. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, if he would have debuted in AEW, Jesus, that would have been hilarious. But
he might. Truly. If they push him out after Vince dies, he might. If Vince dies, then I could maybe see Shane jumping ship. Maybe.
Yeah, that's if someone non-McMahon has control of the company, I guess. But
like
speaking of
like
sagas and the saga, one saga that never ends is Ric Flair. He's somehow still kicking.
Gracious.
Somehow, and he's lost his mind. He was tweeting during AEW saying that the Road Warriors were nothing without the Horsemen, and Tully and Arn made the Road Warriors, which everyone knows is complete utter bullshit.
Yeah, that's total.
Like Ric Flair,
definitely not true.
What are you doing, dude? Stop.
If anybody made the Road Warriors, it was definitely the Rock and Roll Express, but that's neither here nor there.
Exactly. Just Ric Flair, your old ass motherfucker. You need to just take your fucking Geritol.
If we're being totally honest,
take a
the
nap.
Road Warriors made the Road Warriors. Like,
exactly.
They were just that kind of
They
team.
didn't need nobody to help
Exactly.
make them. They were a whole fucking. They were just the mystique of it. No one had that fucking aura that the Road Warriors had. But yeah, neither here nor there. Flair's fucking losing his mind. No, y'all didn't make the fucking Road Warriors. The Road Warriors, if anything, elevated the Four Horsemen.
100%.
Because they were so badass. Like,
agreed.
Fuck off. NXT 2.0 started doing a fucking new stupid camera technique this week. They started having cameramen in the ring during the match, which I hope that doesn't continue because someone's going to get hurt. It's just a bad fucking idea. I don't know if it was Kevin Dunn's idea or what, but very fucking dumb. A good idea for NXT 2.0 is the news. Dolph Ziggler coming down to face Braun Breaker for the NXT Championship, which I think that'd be a hell of a match.
I don't like Braun Breaker. I don't think he's a very good wrestler. I don't like his gimmick. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like, to be fair, I've never really been a Steiner guy ever. I've never liked either one of them.
Okay.
So that's probably why.
So get this. So I bet you actually agree with this take better.
This is like 2 years too late.
The only way that they're going to have that match is if he retains against Santos Escobar. But honestly, Santos Escobar versus Ziggler would be a way better match.
Oh, much better. Much better match. I mean, I think this is 2 years too late. I think you bring Ziggler down to babyface against Cole, or you bring him down to heel against Gargano. I mean, yeah. I think that would have been significantly more interesting. I think it would have been better for everybody. I think having the tape of those matches would have been better for everyone in developmental than Braun Breaker versus Dolph Ziggler. Now, I'm glad that Dolph is being utilized. I really think that the NXT tag team division has kind of dropped the ball other than MSK. I think they're the only ones that are good. And I think that, what is it? El Fantaz? What is it?
Phantasmo, Degato.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think that both those tag teams would benefit from having like Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, like kind of the way they did Breezango. I think that would have worked out better. I think Bobby Roode's a big waste of talent.
That probably could still work now to help benefit them because they ain't got shit going on down there.
And maybe that's what they'll do. Maybe they'll bring, Roode in to kind of, I don't know. I think that would be cool though. Having Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler in NXT would be good. Although to me, it's all too little too late. NXT's already dead in my eyes. So,
oh yeah, it's fine.
I mean,
it'll never be the same.
Agreed.
All right, moving on down to the Impact ROH kind of area. Matt Cardona recently won the Impact Digital Media Championship from Jordan Gray. So it's like he has another internet title. It's like
it's official. I think he just wanted to validate the actual internet championship, and now it's canon. If that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. So Matt Cardona, we see you out there. We see you, broski. We see what you're doing.
Love that dude. Yeah.
So speaking of Impact, two people officially now. On the backstage side, we got Lance Storm now signed on as a producer for Impact, which can't do anything but good for Impact. It's just going to benefit everybody. He's fantastic.
Especially bell to bell, yeah.
Yeah, and Laredo Kid officially signed to Impact with a contract.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's amazing news, actually. That's awesome.
He is one of the only high points in some of the shit we're going to talk about later. And speaking of Impact and TNA, one crazy fun fact that I learned today, did you know Wildcat Chris Harris was the fake Sting in 2000 for WCW?
I did not know that.
I saw that in a little interview today, like a little news snippet, and he said that Sting put the makeup on him. No, like the late fake Sting, like WCW 2000 fake Sting.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't know that.
Me either. I was like,
I don't even know if I've seen that. I don't even know if I saw fake Sting 2000.
No, I definitely didn't. So that's why I was just kind of surprised. I was like, Chris Harris, really?
Yeah, that's wild.
AKA, what was his WWE name?
Braden Walker. And he done ate Chris Harris by the time Braden Walker debuted. But, funny to see him there in the news. And another nice thing here in the news, ROH, as we announced, I think we talked about it last week, they have a Hall of Fame now, the official Ring of Honor Hall of Fame. And they finally announced Ring of Honor, or isn't it just independent wrestling?
Oh, no, that's separate. So there's Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame and now a Ring of Honor Hall of Fame. So I don't know if we did mention that, but the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame, they're going to have their first 3 people they've announced, and the first is the team of the Briscoes, which are fucking OG Ring of Honor dudes, which makes sense. They've been in there since day one. They are lifeblood of Ring of Honor.
Definitely.
And the other person is, former WWE and Ring of Honor World Champion Bryan Danielson.
Wow, before Punk, really? That
Before
surprises me.
Punk.
That really, to me, it would make way more sense to have the Briscoes and Punk, or maybe even the Briscoes and Joe go in first. No, don't get me wrong. No disrespect to Bryan Danielson, especially when he was in Ring of Honor, but there were already, like, he was kind of later. Like, I feel like those guys had already been through and been, like, the tippy top guys. Even like a Nigel McGuinness, I feel like should have gotten in before Bryan Danielson.
Still a good choice. He still deserves it. Good choice,
sure. But I feel like it's more. That's to me personally. Being totally honest, to me that bugs me. Briscoes for sure, but the fact that it's Bryan Danielson first before any of those other guys, that bothers me.
Yeah, Samoa Joe should definitely be like up there.
Yeah, definitely. Samoa Joe should be there before him. Dude, there's a ton of guys. I'm gonna get off my high horse.
Just like you said, I would like the obvious choice because he's like the ROH guy.
I mean, I would say even like guys that were there for longer, like Steen. Well, granted, I know he's signed. to WWE.
Christopher Daniels.
Daniels, yeah. H Styles even. Like
Styles, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice. He definitely deserves a spot for sure. I mean, Danielson deserves to be there. And we're just nitpicking now, but that's what this podcast is. Moving on.
Okay, keep moving on to some All Elite Wrestling news. We had some rumors that were quickly shot down that our old boy Tony Khan was running for Congress. But turns out that was fake, just like the time that The Rock was reportedly running. Someone, submitted some documents with his name, just trying to stir some shit up, which is pretty clever, pretty funny. A little controversy, a little news there. Got a little pop from it. And what got a very large pop, which I know Daniel did not pop as loud, was the debut of Keith Lee on AEW Dynamite last night. And we got classic Keith Lee back, like AEW, I mean, not AEW, fuck. We got NXT Indie Keith Lee back. I know Daniel is lukewarm on the idea of Keith Lee, but I think you'll be surprised and you'll be happy.
I think that Keith Lee is a great bell-to-bell wrestler. I don't think Keith Lee has ever been in a storyline that I've found compelling ever. So I think that listen.
The opportunity's there.
I'm gonna say this, okay? In 10 years, Keith Lee is going to be a miss. And I genuinely believe it's his personality. There's certain ways he carries himself. Like, listen, WWE did him wrong. Like, I want to get that out first and foremost. They did him wrong. They treated him poorly. He had every reason to react the way he did. I am not saying that I am like on the WWE side here. However, the way he spoke, it's his choice of words, the way he handled it when he did come out, felt very Bret Hart-ish, if that makes sense. And so, like, with that being said, like, I think he's a great bell-to-bell wrestler. I think he's actually incredible. I don't think that I've ever seen anyone that size physically do the things that he does. And I'm including guys like Jonah Rock and like Igor. Is that the guy from War Raiders or whatever they were?
Yeah,
Viking
even
Raiders?
Vader. Even someone like Vader.
Even Vader. No, I agree. I think that Keith Lee physically is incredible, and I've seen him have amazing matches. I was very hype on Keith Lee early on. It really soured me the way he handled himself. And then, honestly, his promos, I just have never felt were good. So I think to me, AEW does so well with the stories, man. Like, so well with the stories. And I think he's going to get left in the dust. I really do, because I think he's a big pop, but I don't see him past the mid card. I see him wrestling guys like Hook in 2 months.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that, and I believe not now, but within the next few years, he will be world champion in AEW. I'm calling it now. I think he's gonna.
I hope you're right. I really do. I genuinely hope you're right.
They know how to book him. I feel like everything's gonna work out great, and he will get that opportunity to do some more story-based stuff. And he has the personality; it's there. He just hasn't really had the opportunity to really let it shine through because he never really had any good storylines to where he really shined on his personality. So
I mean, listen,
we get to see more of that in AEW.
Totally.
And what?
And it could just not be for me. Not for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, last year's PWI number one was John Moxley, and we all know how I feel about John Moxley on this show. So, I mean, yeah, he could be vastly successful, and it just not click with me. It's very possible.
I understand that John Moxley thing because that's one thing we just happen to agree on because I know a lot of people who love Moxley. When I say anything bad, they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, I just don't like him.
Yeah, he's not good. It's because he's not a good wrestler. That's why I don't like him.
Like, yeah.
Speaking of not good wrestling, man, let's jump right in here to our show. Let's get into our way back machine and go way back to 1997, my favorite year ever in the history of wrestling, actually. And it doesn't really make sense. It's got to be a time in my life. Maybe it was just me going through puberty around here. I'm not sure. But I love 1997 vastly. So let's jump right into WWF In Your House Final Four 1997. This one actually emanated from Chattanooga, right down the road. Actually, my second favorite city on earth. I love
way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. Never knew how much that muddy water meant to me.
Chattahoochee is in Georgia, but yes, in Chattanooga in Tennessee.
But it's Chattahoochee, Chattanooga. It goes together in my mind.
I understand.
Just like the Chattanooga choo-choo.
Anyway, if you're ever in Tennessee and you get a chance to visit somewhere, I would actually recommend Chattanooga and not Nashville. It's super clean. There's a bunch of really cool stuff to do there. A bunch of really awesome restaurants. It's like quirky that it's like a really modern, like small town, if that makes sense. Like they have the fastest internet in the country, which is really weird, but they do. So anyway, enough about Chattanooga. Let's get into the show here. Match number 1 is Wild Man Mark Marrow versus Leif Cassidy. This is a pay-per-view, okay? This is a pay-per-view. If someone paid to see the opening match be Wild Man Mark Marrow versus Leif Cassidy, the ring work was decent, but this is not even a marquee enough to be on Raw at the time to me. I don't even think this is a Raw-worthy match, let alone a pay-per-view match. The crowd did not care about anything except for Sable, and it seemed like commentary was about the same, to be honest. Again, though, the bell-to-bell was solid, but like literally no one cared, and I didn't either. Bell-to-bell was solid. I gave it a beer and a half. Where are you at on it?
Yeah, it wasn't like anything to write home about. Just like you said, the work rate was solid. Mark Marrow, I never really watched any Mark Marrow matches till we really covered these In Your Houses. And he's a lot better than I ever knew because I don't really ever remember watching him. I only remember playing with him as the video games and stuff.
Yeah.
Because by the time I really got into WWF heavy in 99, there was no Mark Marrow. And that music, I think Sable when I hear that music. I don't even think Mark Marrow.
Right.
It does not even register in my mind. But, he has
so
a
does
pretty
everyone else.
Shooting star press there. I will give that to him.
It's underrated. I do feel like people just kind of brush it under the rug. But honestly, Wild Man Mark Marrow was significantly better than TKO Mark Marrow.
Oh, yeah. So, TKO Mark Marrow, they tried to do, play on his little box.
Although that move was dope.
Yeah, the TKO is cool. You can work it. But I will give this batch only 2 beers. I mean, like I said, the work rate, it was cool. I mean, they did all the moves were executed nicely. Yeah. It looked solid, but it's just like, who really gave a fuck about Leif Cassidy, Al Snow, and Mark Marrow at this point in 1997? All we cared about was Sable, just like you said, and Jerry Lawler was basically promoting beating up Sable. He was like, yeah, we're going to dot her in the eye. And you did get the cool moment of, it was just JR and King. This was like the beginning of
I feel like
shit.
It's only a matter of time before Peacock realizes that they're like, damn it, we're going to have to eventually somebody woke is going to come along and watch the wrong thing at the wrong time. And WWE is going to have to go back to its own network. Please. I hope so. Yeah,
because genuinely. Lawler, if you just listen to Lawler from anywhere between 97 to 02.
Exactly, which is your biggest time ever in wrestling. So you can't cut any of that out. And you can't cut Jerry Lawler out and it still work. It just doesn't. There's no way. So, yeah, I mean, it's wild. But I agree. Match was decent enough bell to bell, but no one gave a shit, including me. Let's
2 beers, 1.5. Here we go.
Honky Tonk Man kind of comes to the ring for no good reason because we get a package after this, and we just see him come down to the ring like he's going to entertain the crowd, which I guess he did. And then they play the whole recap of the Lost My Smile promo. And listen, it's legend. That's a legendarily good promo, by the way. Like, people make fun of it and
just like me, because he was faded out of his mind in that promo.
But it's a really good promo, though. Like, it's really good. It's well delivered. It's iconic. I would dare say
he slurs his words a few times there, and
I don't give a damn.
Has a few slip ups.
I don't give a damn. It's great.
You can clearly tell he's whacked out of his mind, but I love
1997 Shawn Michaels is my favorite thing on earth. Like, dark circles under his eyes, wrestling matches, like when he's literally calling spots and calling people out in the ring. That's that person is my favorite person to have ever wrestled in the ring ever. To this day, he is the best. So it's weird because I still like Shawn. I like Jesus Shawn Michaels. He's very cool too. I would actually argue that Jesus Shawn Michaels may have had a better bell-to-bell career than the 90s Shawn Michaels.
I agree with that. I've always said that, and people were like, no, And I'm like, dude, really? His 0-2 from on was a pretty solid run.
Like Tom Brady, man. He had 2 GOAT careers, honestly. He had 2 GOAT careers. But let's keep it rolling here. We got Gorilla kind of laying out the 4-way challenge and Pettingill with the narration. And then we get Kevin Kelly on a promo with Sid. And it was actually a pretty good Sid promo, too. I thought the promos were relatively decent on the show, which especially for, moving into 97, moving away from New Generation, it was surprising that the promos were actually a little bit better on this show than I thought the matches were.
And Sid did it live because it was a live pay-per-view, and he was I thought he was gonna fuck up. I really did, but he smooth sailed all the way through.
This is one of the better. I'm not saying it's one of Sid's best promos ever, but I think it's one of the best promos that we've covered on the show from Sid.
Says, "I am the ruler."
Oh, I love it, and he nailed it.
World.
And he nailed it. The dynamics were good. Sid is underrated. His run is underrated. We make fun of him, call him softball Sid a lot because we're like inside baseball and we know that now. And he like always gets remembered for the snapping leg thing, which is just brutal. But like, dude is underrated. Like he always
gets remembered for his leg getting snapped, and he goes, "But
I'm sorry, can we do that again?
More brain. But do you have more brains than I do?" Or whatever he said, all fucking backwards. And he's also famous for "We're live, pal." I think that's the most thing he's more famous for.
We're live, pal. Is probably the most, but that's in the internet age, I would say. Either way, underrated overall. It definitely should be in the Hall of Fame, no doubt. Next match here is Flash Funk and Bart Gunn versus Goldust and Farouk.
It's not. You got that wrong. It's not. It's Goldust, Bart Gunn, and Flash Funk versus the Nation of Domination with the team of Farouk, Crush, and Savio Vega.
Are you sure?
That was the match, yes.
I don't think so.
Yes. It was a 6-man match. Nation of Domination versus Goldust, Bart Gunn, and Flash Funk. It was just so fucked and just such a fuck fest that you didn't really know what the fuck was going on because I was very confused for most of the match.
Okay,
Savio Vega.
I gave this match a dud because it made no sense.
if that tells you anything, it was complete chaos.
Yes,
made no sense.
Okay. Wow, I had no idea. That's crazy. Like I thought it was a weird tag team because it's like, okay, so Goldust came out as a heel, and then he was a babyface by the end of it, which made no sense to me because it wasn't actually a turn. I don't know, it was weird. Like he got booed on the way to the ring, like vastly booed. And then, like, he was a babyface by the end of the match because we see him later on in the show.
Yeah, we do.
So, yeah, it made no sense. It was so, like, definite dud. Like,
it
was only
wasn't
6
very
minutes
good.
long, too, on a pay-per-view, which is really weird.
And
especially for that many people.
Like, when the fuck was Savio Vega in the Nation of Domination? I know he was in Los Pericos.
I remember that for sure. No, I remember that for sure.
See, I don't remember. I guess it's that time I wasn't really watching it. And then, it's just funny. Farouk's beating up Flash Funk, and he goes, he said, you redneck hicks. And then he looks at Flash Funk. He goes, "You're nothing but a southern black redneck, aren't you?" And just smacked him in the back of the neck, and the whole crowd booed. It got pretty. It was just pretty ridiculous. And you had PG-13 rapping Nation of Domination on the way to the ring.
Well, like the babyface team also too felt like, you remember when you had Warzone for the PlayStation?
Oh yeah,
you could just hit triangle and it would like random fill your enemies.
I have like Warzone for N64 literally like 2 feet away from us right now. So yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I had it for PS1, but yeah, I mean, it was like if you just hit the triangle for random, like Bart Gunn, Flash Funk, and Goldust, like you do not get any more random than that. Like you just don't.
Maybe if you had like Kurgan.
Kurgan wasn't out yet. Come on now. Truth Commission was great, by the way. Big fan. We'll get to that in 97.
Let's keep it fucking moving because that's
we got a great promo from a fresh Stone Cold. He's banned spanking new babyface Stone Cold here. Really good stuff.
But it was such a heel promo. He's just calling fucking Doc Hendricks a piece of trash the whole time.
Yeah, piece of trash. Yeah, it was great. I love that dude to death. The promo package for Triple H and The Rock was great. I thought it was really well put together, and it's kind of cool to see the genesis here. And I actually thought that this was the best match on the card. I thought it was easily match of the night. Even both guys kind of being green, it was very tight. It was like the work was snug. Like they both got kind of more dramatic and more story based, like bigger dramatic strikes as they went on in their career. Because this felt almost like a tight technical wrestling kind of vibe. Like the punches looked really tight and not as exaggerated. I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, they both look green for sure. But I felt like there was lots of room to breathe, which is nice. I thought there was good psychology in the match. I thought the booking was good to kind of keep both guys looking good and kind of launch like the Goldust Triple H story, and also kind of the debut of China here too, which also gives quite a big nod here. I gave it 3 3/4 beers. I really did enjoy this one. I thought it's kind of like the diamond of the show. Not that even so much of the match was that great. It's just that it's kind of historic, like it being like for the Intercontinental title. It's The Rock versus Triple H. Got to be one of the first or second times that ever happened. And we get the debut of China, and we get the launch of the Triple H Goldust thing, which led to those Goldust promos with JR that are so legendary. So
yep,
it's a turning point. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I gave it 3 3/4 beers for that.
Where you at? I thought this was a pretty solid matchup. I mean, the work rate was really good, but you could tell The Rock just wasn't as smooth as you could just definitely tell he was green. Like
both guys
he was doing like all The Rock's signature moves. They just didn't look as good.
I mean, Hunter Hearst Helmsley was doing the same thing.
Yeah, but that's why it was really cool to watch. And like, I love how The Rock's theme song was like a pre-version of The Rock's theme song, but it kind of had that same beat. You can tell where they were going.
You can hear
it was great. Yeah. And just same thing with some of Triple H's moves and like everything they were doing. It's like you said, the Genesis. It was cool just to see like the precursor to all these moves and stuff that would become their signature things. And then also cool to see the moves that they never use anymore. Like The Rock using a fucking crossbody and the shoulder breaker as his finisher. And like all these moves, you're like, what the fuck? The Rock's never done this. And it's just, it's cool to see how they kind of worked out their movesets and became who they are today and like who we know and love. But yeah, I thought it was a really good match. The Rock kind of botched that DDT.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
there was a couple, and he won with a bridging German suplex. Like, what?
Yeah, well, this was that era, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, that was this era.
Yeah.
Like
97 was just weird. But yeah, I gave it 3 1/4 beers. I thought it was pretty good.
So I was only a half a beer higher than you on this one. Let's keep it trucking right along, though. We got a Vader promo, and it's pretty bad. It's actually the worst promo on the show. Paul Bearer was great, though. He kind of saved the segment, so like I didn't really.
I disagree.
Oh, really?
I don't like Vader and Paul Bearer don't go together. Like,
I agree. I agree.
So
I agree.
After Vader was rambling, I was just like, this is a fucking mess. Let's get to the next thing, dude. What are y'all doing?
Vader is just like, Bret Hart, I'm gonna squash you. And Undertaker, I'm gonna squash you. And who's the other guy? I'm gonna squash you. That's like, what is happening here? It's just real weird. Moving on. The next match here is Furnace and LaFon versus Owen and the Bulldog. WWF Tag Team titles on the line. This match had the highest work rate. I actually felt like the bell to bell was the best in this match, even though I think that match of the night was probably Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Rocky Maivia. It was a very 90s style technical match. Very crisp for what it was, though. Really good match. Probably the best match Furnace and LaFon had. Good storytelling, too. Got a little kind of clammy there at the end. But the middle was a very solid tag match for sure. I also like kind of the angle of kind of pushing towards that breakup with Owen and Bulldog. I think that storyline is really underrated, too, because as we see as it goes on, it's like you anticipate it just being like every other tag team where they split up and have like a singles run against each other. But really what happens is it gets to a boiling point, and then Brett steps in as a heel and is like, no, we're all family, and brings like the Hart Foundation as a faction in. So I think
this is like
creative
Hart
writing
Foundation.
Yeah, it's creative writing, because it's like you think that they're teasing the tag team breaking up, but that's not what they're teasing at all. They're teasing a bigger, stronger faction, which I think is really, really smart, really good booking. I gave it 3 1/4 beers, so it was above average, but not too far above average. Where are you at on it?
Hey, I thought this was a fantastic match. Like you said, the work rate was fantastic. They just had really good chemistry with the Can-Am Express, because I know that was actually the name that they went by, Furnace and LaFon. Yeah. And yeah, dude, honestly, damn it, excuse me, but after watching this match, like Owen Hart would be so good in like the modern era, just with his style, the way he wrestles.
Oh yeah, and
dude,
you know what? The dream match I want to see is Owen Hart versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Well, if we can get Zack Sabre Jr. somehow in the new AEW video game, he could probably create him because Owen Hart will be in it. So
nice.
At least we can do some of those dream matchups in the game, which is one thing I'm looking forward to. And let's go ahead and be honest. Bulldog was never good singles. He was always better in a tag team.
Oh, 100%. But he was great in a tag team.
Yeah, like fantastic. Like every singles match I've ever seen him in that we've watched on this show, I've rated very poorly. And I thought this match was great. Like everything works. He's the power guy.
Actually, no,
Owen's the fucking technical guy.
He's Billy Gunn. He is Billy Gunn.
And then JR kept overselling. He's just such a great athlete. And I'm like, we get it. You said it 15 goddamn times, but
we know.
The end kind of got weird. I didn't really like the DQ finish thing. Like
he broke the slammy
really
though, and Owen lost his mind.
Yeah, it works for the story, but I'm just normally not a fan of that. But I thought work rate and just everything. 3.5 beers, my match of the night.
Nice. Okay. So you're only a quarter off, though.
Yeah, quarter off. So our match of the nights were kind of switched up, and maybe because I like that style more than I like the other style. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe that shows our slight split indifference there. But let's go ahead and move on to the main event.
Okay, let's get right into it. The Undertaker promo before the match was hype. Good stuff. We're getting kind of close to the Lord of the Darkness era, which I was pretty hype about. That's my favorite version of the Undertaker, the Ministry, really dark Undertaker. That's my favorite. So the match here is Vader versus Bret Hart versus Stone Cold versus the Undertaker. So the way this match really worked for the majority of the match was Vader versus Taker and Austin versus Hart, and then they would switch about halfway through, and then they would switch back. That's literally the tale of these three acts. And that doesn't work. I don't think that four-ways were really popular at the time in any form of wrestling because the style was just different. All four of these guys work a main event WWF style, which is not – the high spots mean more and they breathe more. They're way more crowd and just slower paced. So when you have four guys all doing that same thing, you're not going to see the big tower in the corner. You're not going to see – big four-way setup spots. It's just not what they do. And it hurt the match. And it was forever long. This match was way too long. Just way too long.
It was fucked.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It wasn't for me. The finish was really underwhelming too. I gave it 2.5 beers. But below average for me. Where are you at on it?
Dude, I am literally a fucking quarter of a beer off. I gave it 2.25 beers.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, since four ways were not very popular at the time, they didn't know how to film it. It was fucked. I could not keep up with what was going on. It would just go camera to camera to camera.
Yeah.
It was just fucking.
Kevin Dunn didn't know how to work four ways either at that point. Clearly.
Yeah, you could just clearly tell they did not really plan this out very well, and they just kind of started, all right, I'm going to wrestle you over here. And Vader, even though he was leaking like a motherfucker, he was working like he just didn't give a fuck.
Oh, that was hardway juice, too. That was hardway juice.
Oh, yeah. It was a chair, like a drop kick chair shot from the Undertaker.
That was on him, though. It was on Vader for sure.
I think he was just pissed off and he didn't give a fuck. And he was just clubbing people in the head, like sloppily taking like every move. He took one of the fucking worst stunners I've ever seen. Like, dude, look, it was probably, I don't know if it was worse than the McMahon stunner, but it was pretty fucking bad. And just too much fucking going on in this match. I did like Austin coming back out after he got eliminated just to still whoop Bret Hart's ass. That was great.
That was good.
I love that.
That's very Stone Cold. Yeah.
That little end sequence, that part of the story, that was fantastic. They executed that perfectly. But
it's in your house. They didn't want to blow their load on Austin versus Hart yet. I get that.
Yeah, but it was just too much going on. I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah, on paper it looks great, but it was not good.
If this would have been in if we would have ran this back in WWE 2K19, we could have made a better match, you know?
Oh, 1,000% for sure. And I also think thing that really
this was no DQ, and they didn't weapons were still minimal. It was just not what you see today.
And JR after the bell rings is just like, "Don't you dare go away! Don't you dare go away!" And all we see is just Sid come out and confront Bret, and it's that was the most underwhelming ending.
That was
for you to hype up something to happen, and that's it. It's okay, all right, that. I don't know. That was just really dumb. Speaking of really dumb, let's jump into the next show here.
Really dumb.
It's GCW's If I Die First.
It's actually If I Die. I thought it was If I Die First because that makes sense. But GCW has a weird thing of having fucked up names that don't make sense. Like we thought it was GCW The World or whatever, and it was like The World on GCW.
Really
If I Die. Who's coming up with this bullshit?
Is it just If I Die?
It's just If I Die.
No, it's If I Die First.
No, it's If I Die.
No, it's If I Die. I'm looking at it right now. It's If I Die First.
But the
2022.
last thing that I looked up was just If I Die.
It's If I Die First, 100%. It's even in the graphic, If I Die First.
Well, what the fuck is going on?
I don't know. Think you just tugged a little too hard on that bong, buddy. Speaking of tugging a little too hard on the bong, the ring announcer here may have been like tugging a little too hard on the toot because he was just way too hype at the beginning and kind of blew his mic out in the very first seconds of the match, or not even the match, very first seconds of the show. That's what I was going to say.
Was that him or was that in-house production sucking? Because
it was him. They switched the mic. He blew the diaphragm out in the mic. I know what that sounds like because I've done it at a show before, and that's exactly what he did. He blew the diaphragm.
I had my headphones in, and it was literally like gave me a headache. It was so bad.
Okay, so like from first look. The production value this is the lowest production value I've ever seen from a GCW show. The ring didn't look like the normal ring. It was bad. Production was bad. Video was bad. Audio was bad. It was just not good.
The hard cam was shaky. If your hard cam is shaky, something the fuck's going on. Every time they could not film the ring right. Every time you had a wide shot, like people's heads or feet would be cut off. It was just, it was honestly the worst production they've ever had.
If I had been there live, I probably would have loved this show. And it feels like this show was booked for a live crowd and not for a TV crowd at all. And we'll get into that as we keep going. The first match
I've seen local Tennessee indies with better like production than they had at this.
I would agree. The first match is Dante Leon and Ninja Mac versus Jordan Oliver and Nick Wayne. Commentary in this match specifically, I got to give the devil their due. I normally poo-poo on everything they do, and they were very good in this match. They were very good. I felt like they explained and they kind of told me a little more about who Jordan Oliver and Nick Wayne were, which really needed to happen. That was a good thing. They did commentary not for the live crowd, but for someone watching on TV, which is what they're supposed to do. And I thought that was very good. They changed their tune later as we go on in the show, but it was what it was. There was more air in this match, which is a good thing. The match itself was very good. I thought it was very crisp, very believable, good psychology, which is rare at this level. Good heat and good shine. Crowd was hot for it. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I gave it 3.5 beers. I liked it a lot. Where are you at on it?
Yeah, I actually have one of the same notes that commentary seems to have improved since the last show that we watched. But like you said, it didn't stay that good for long. But besides that,
my friend.
But besides that, I mean, there's some like you said, very innovative stuff here from like Leon and Ninja Mac, like Vader Bomb Cutter, like a Phoenix 630 splash, like insane. And
Shooting Star Cutter, yeah.
Yeah, even though Nick Wayne and Jordan Oliver look like the kids from high school who drove like shitty Hondas and sold pills and said like bruh a lot and wear puka shell necklaces because Nick Wayne literally had one on and he literally is 16 years old, so it makes sense.
He's 16? Is that what it is?
Yeah, he's living the gimmick. So the puka shell necklace, he's sold.
He's very young.
Xanaxes
dude, that kid is a star for sure. Like he's very good. He's very good. I thought he had the best facial expression. I had no idea he was that young. He had the best facial expressions for selling probably on the show.
White baby face, but yeah, you can tell puka shell necklace. You can tell he's in high school. But Jordan Oliver, he's great in the ring. His hair, he just needs to do something about that look.
It's his face, bro. It's
the hair, the face.
And I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like he has the face. It's the facial hair. It's like the weird, not blonde, not brown hair tone too, where it's like I swear to God, that same dude, I don't know how, because I'm sure he's not my age, but I swear to God that dude tried to sell me weed at the Kroger Mapco by McGavock High School like 15 years ago. I swear to God.
And he drove a Honda and he went to McGavock.
Same guy.
He was on Xanax. I'm telling you.
Drove a beat up Honda with like no muffler on it and thought he was badass. Like, yeah, totally.
And he hung out in the bonnets.
Yes. Oh, dude, I don't know how. I mean, no one else is going to get that reference with me and you, but that's dead on.
But yeah, I thought it was a solid match. I went 3 beers. I really wish at the Hammerstein they would have did something like this instead of that scramble, and this would have let all these guys shine a lot better. And Nick Wayne still probably couldn't have been on the show, so I don't know who they would have replaced him.
We'll get to the scramble.
Still good match, but yeah, 3 beers right there in the middle for me.
Yeah. Between the match, the audio somehow got worse. They didn't fix that at all. It was kind of a cool little respect spot at the end. It was felt very Ring of Honor from all four guys, which is nice. Again, I thought the shining star of the match was Ninja Mac and Nick Wayne. And honestly, Dante Leone and Jordan Oliver are good. Like, I think Jordan Oliver pisses me off because of the way he looks, and it's not fair to him because I honestly feel like his bell-to-bell is not bad.
It's like Rhett Titus, you know?
Yeah, yes, exactly. He just looks bad. I just don't like his face. Like, it's just it. Yeah. Moving on, though, the next match is John Wayne Murdoch, a deathmatch guy, versus ASF, which is Antonio San Francisco.
Which I love.
I had no idea that's what his name was. But that's hilarious. Anyway. Yeah, again, this is another match where the commentary did a really good job of kind of selling the fact that there's a clashing of styles here. The match was relatively quick, too, which I thought was smart to kind of protect Murdoch, because obviously ASF is definitely a bell-to-bell guy, but it wasn't really a death match thing. So having a shorter match and getting Murdoch the win made him look strong. I liked that. Both guys got really good shine. Murdoch definitely needed the win more than ASF did, too, because ASF's just over. Everyone knows he's good. Still, it wasn't great, but it was decent. I gave it 2 beers. Where are you at on it?
I thought it was pretty good. It was like a ridiculous contrast of styles, and apparently it wasn't originally planned. It was kind of like a last-minute match because, you know, there was a bunch of travel issues.
Yeah.
So I think for a last-minute match, they worked a pretty solid thing for the contrast of styles, and it's crazy. John Wayne Murdoch is former local jobber Damian Payne, not to be confused with Damian Wayne, another local wrestler in Tennessee. But yeah, he's grown a lot since the Stadium Inn. I'll tell you that.
John Wayne Murdoch. It's a cool name. I like that name a lot.
He way better than Damian Payne, and he spelled it Payne. By the way, so yeah, he's definitely upped his game. Great wrestler. Worked great with a high flyer guy. I love that fucking finish on the door, the weird suplex type beat thing. I can't even tell. It was like almost like a brain buster. I don't know. Brutal stuff, some flippy stuff, but it was almost right in the middle for me. I went 2.5. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Fair enough.
Antonio San Francisco is the greatest name for a fucking wrestler. I love it.
Really
it's
good.
like Ron Mexico.
I love it. I love it a lot. Let's move on to the next match here. It's Allie Katch versus AJ Gray. The chain wrestling open was better than the entire Ruby Soho match that she had. Great bell-to-bell work. AJ is just so good, man. And Allie's facial expressions this night were night and day better. Like, she sold so much better in this match than she did in the Ruby match. Maybe it was just a spotlight thing. Maybe it was nerves, but she wrestled so much better.
She's more familiar with AJ than she is with Ruby Soho.
Either way, the selling on both sides was very good. It was it's really hard to pull off these intergender matches and make them feel like the suspension of disbelief, believability is there. And I think they did a really good job. There were spaces between the spots so the crowd could breathe and kind of cheer or gasp or whatever. And that was really well done. I really liked it. There was a few botches from Allie. Allie kicked out super, super late, and it was pretty much a 3 on one of those spots, and the crowd definitely was not forgiving of that.
They're not.
which I agree with. She should have kicked out earlier. It was on her, but that was the only small spot that stood out. It was good, wasn't great, and I will say that one small botch kind of seemed to take the wind out of the crowd a little bit. So the remainder of the match until they got to the finish was kind of flat. So I just went in the middle on it. I gave it 3 beers. Where are you at with Allie Katch versus AJ Gray?
Yeah, I love both of these wrestlers, but something just wasn't clicking in parts of this match. Like, some of the chain wrestling was good, but some of the other transitions just kind of seemed sloppy. And like you said, that botch on the kick out, I don't know if she got her bell rung on something and just kind of was just off. But once AJ Gray started being AJ Gray and just laying them big strikes and power moves, it really picked up. And I think once they had to think less and just started, wrestling, just started beating the fuck out of each other, it got a little bit better. I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed it more after that. Just those transitions, some of that chain wrestling, I just did not think was working. I didn't think that was believable. But once he started laying the shit in, and besides that little botch, it was pretty solid. I did not go 3 beers. Not quite. I went 2.75.
Okay.
And it's just because maybe I hold them to a higher standard because there's some of my, at least AJ Gray is one of my favorite wrestlers. So when there's some slip ups, maybe I'm a little bit more critical, but it was still a great match.
That's fair.
Way better than Ruby, like you said, way better than Ruby Soho. I think the little bit of familiarity there helped it.
Yeah. Oh, I would definitely agree with that for sure. Let's just keep it rolling here, though. We got Jimmy Lloyd versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Okay, this match to me is when commentary started switching over to just a live crowd and really starting to drop the ball and go back into their own way.
Which sucks because Speedball deserves better.
I agree. I thought the match bell to bell was great. Commentary was the worst part of this match for sure. The work in ring was good. The work out of the ring was really boring. Bailey looked right into the camera every single chance that he got, and that kind of took me out of it a little bit. Every now and then is okay. I'm not like don't break the fourth wall, pal kind of guy. Like, that's fine. I don't mind if you look at the camera every now and then. But it's almost like that narcissist where it's like he knows the camera's watching and he's trying not to look at the camera, but he does anyway. That's what it felt like. And it was like that made me kind of, I don't know, it made me feel gross a little bit. I don't know. There was a very impressively athletic match, but the selling was not good enough, and so the psychology suffered because of it. It was definitely more of a spectacle than a story. It was solid for what it was, but that's not my style. I went 2.5 beers on it.
Okay.
Where are you at?
I'm not too far off, and kind of you said more of a spectacle. I think it was more of like a Speedball Mike Bailey showcase because Jimmy Lloyd, he just doesn't. I mean, he's good at what he does, but he doesn't really mesh well with like this style of wrestling. He should have been in like the Scramble or something. It's like the Scramble this should have been like Speedball versus Alex Zane or something like that. That would have been a way better match. Like they have that more high pace, that fast paced, more modern style. And if we had someone else like that, it could have pushed it over that threshold and been a little bit better. But just like you said, commentary just started shitting the bed on this match.
Yep. They've got to get a better commentary team, man.
I don't know why.
There's so many guys out there available that are good at commentary. I mean, I understand that. I understand that Brett's got like his loyalty thing, and I do value that for sure. But God, man, you're never gonna get. I mean, they're really hurting your product, dude. Like, they're really hurting your product. And again, I'm not trying to I don't know these dudes as people. I'm not trying to come across as personally bash them. Maybe they do so much behind the scenes, and maybe they've earned their spot. I don't know. I'm just saying, as a consumer that judges wrestling as a consumer. They're not up to par. They're just not up to par. They're not good enough to be on a local YouTube show, let alone your pay-per-views. They're just not good enough. All
I will say is that you're not the only person I've heard complain about GCW commentary. Other commentators that I've talked to, local ones, indie ones, they've also talked about how bad it was, and just like they were doing so good for a minute, and they just had to start going off the path and saying some wild shit. But I went right down the middle on this match, 3 beers. I love the shooting star press knee. That's just a sick move. I think it's funny because Penelope Ford did like the moonsault botch knee on Rampage. Even though it was brutal, she wasn't trying that, but he actually does this move. Really fucking sick. But yeah, it could have been better because I've seen Mike Bailey in way better matches. So, yep, right in the middle for me, a 6-pack.
Agreed.
3-pack.
Let's keep it rolling until we get to intermission here. We got one more match, which is a little weird because there's 8 matches on the show, and we got 5 matches in the intermission. It should have been right here, actually, because I feel like Gringo Loco versus Psycho Clown would have been a great way to start off after intermission, but I digress. The match here is Gringo Loco versus Psycho Clown, and this match wasn't for me, man. I like both guys, too, and I see what they're capable of. So kind of seeing them in a hardcore match instead of like a regular match kind of let me down. I feel like if this had been a Lucha Libre, a departure, like a change of pace and like that style, it would have been significantly better. And I'm not saying that it was bad. I think that for having 2 luchadors do a hardcore match, this was good at that. I just don't really like that style. Gringo Loco specifically I thought he was really good in this match. I just don't really like this style very much. And I don't know. I was let down because I feel like they could have done way better if they'd just been a regular lucha style match, and I would have loved it more. I gave it 2 3/4 beers. I wanted to give it 3, but I was just let down because I knew they were capable of doing more.
No way.
Yeah.
This is our first one of the night. I also gave it 2 3/4 beers. And it was way too fucking long.
It was so long. Dude.
Way too long. So long. It probably could have been a 3-beer match if it would have ended 10 minutes.
Too much hardcore. Too much outside of the ring brawling, and both guys need the ropes to make their style work. Said,
I expected more of a traditional lucha match because you're getting Psycho Clown and Gringo Loco, but they went more hardcore. Not even, like you said, not even truly death match, just classic WWF hardcore match.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, and it wasn't bad, but just like you said, it's not what I wanted. When I saw Psycho Clown and Gringo Loco, I want more flips.
Yeah. That's what you guys do, and you do it really well. Yeah, I agree. Just kind of a letdown. But let's keep it rolling here. We did get intermission, which I think is nice. Like, I think that's good. And I understand it's a live feed, so you can't like take me out of it. But yeah, 15 minutes instead of just a screen with a countdown, and so people are going to walk away or maybe even like turn your shit off. Like, why don't you put some packages together, and like kind of have, even if it's not like, put a package together for the Xbox Joey Janela match that's eventually going to happen. You know what I mean? Like put it for even like, because obviously this is let's call this like a GCW kind of an in your house pay-per-view. This is not one that they're like really promoting online all the time. Like, this is not one of their big pay-per-views that they expect like people to watch. So I try to like look at it in that vein. Like, I get that they're not putting their marquee matches on here because
this is like TV for like another company.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. I would argue that GCW, Brett specifically, has to know that there's more eyes on GCW now than ever before. So he's got to start treating these even quote unquote TV match like shows to further his stories and focus less on live spectacle. I know that the main thing of GCW is that live crowd and that almost like cult-like vibe that they have. And I know it's hard to do that, but I think that if you really invest in the right guys, which you have on your roster, you could pull off a more story-based show and still give the crowd what they want. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe not have a 3-hour-long pay-per-view part and give us 2 hours on a pay-per-view where you focus mainly on story and have a whole hour of just dark stuff for the live crowd, if that makes sense.
That's good shit there. I like that.
I feel like that makes more sense to me. And again, like, I really want GCW to do well. Anytime we're critiquing it, honestly, I want WWE to do well. I want all companies to do well. I feel like it's our job. It's our mission from God to make sure that we nitpick this to the best of our ability. And I want to help Mr. Brett Lauderdale.
Yeah, we want him to do stuff that makes sense, but there's something that doesn't make sense. And that's this fucking next match.
Dude, like, why do you keep with this? Like, okay, this to me, the scramble thing that you always have on every show is like, how many times does this have to burn and fail before you realize it's a terrible idea? Like, it's honestly, it's like you're making some of these guys look worse. And you should be protecting, like, some of these, like Alex Zane, like a star stud that is going to help you build your brand. Atticus Kogar, a star that is going to help build your brand. And you are devaluing their brand by putting them in these shit matches constantly where they're stepping on each other. And there's no way. And first of all, I should never, and will never purposely pay to see a wrestler like Grim Reaper wrestle again. I should never have to pay for that. And I'm not trying to be an asshole, but that dude is trash. Like, he's like Sandman level bad. Like, he's awful. And I get that he's a gimmick, much respect. Again, like, this is just one nerdy Mark's opinion of this dude. He might be the sweetest dude on earth. He might do a bunch of Make-A-Wish stuff. I don't think so, just judging by what I saw, but I'm not shitting on the dude as a person. His bell-to-bell, from my small amount that I got to see him in this match, was god-awful, and I hope I never see that again. Dude, it just sucks because there was a lot of really good wrestlers in this match. A lot of the spots that they tried to put together were just downright botches, just bad spots. Yeah, it just felt like it was only for the live crowd. Bad booking, especially to put it on after intermission. Just not good. I gave it a half a beer. And that's just because I like Alexander and I like Atticus Kogar. That's it. Where are you at on it?
Dude, I mean, there were some cool spots in the match. There are also a lot more very fucking scary and dumb spots in the match. Like, people landing on each other's heads, God. Just like, just cringe, like stuff that doesn't even look cool. And like, everything that Dark Sheik did just looked like fucking shit. Yeah, I don't know. She just, her everything to do with Alex Zane just was so like contrived and set up. And maybe she's better in singles matches because these scrambles are not it. They are not fucking working.
No.
Deranged. He had some cool little spots, but then he was doing like some HBK SummerSlam 02 type selling. Like, everything was just ridiculous in this match. It wasn't. Yeah. I didn't have a good time watching it. Like, Atticus Kogar, brutal lion salt kick to the face on Alex Zane by accident that had nothing to do with all the other bullshit, but it was just more of that. it's just like once one thing happens, just keeps trickling on, and things just get like not good. It was absolute definition.
5 is too many people.
Spot fuck fest. I only gave it a beer because they took some gnarly bumps for no reason.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, not much else to say about that. Bad stuff altogether. Let's keep it going here. Then the semi-main event is Laredo Kid versus Blake Christian. Match of the night by far to me. Great work, great chemistry. Blake Christian is underrated as a seller for sure. His facial expressions were the best of the night. Next to Nick Wayne, I thought those two guys had the best like selling facial expressions. I think it was a really cool match because they found a really awesome way of kind of blending the old school WCW cruiserweight style and the current like lucha libre style together, and it really worked. Both dudes kind of like should be focal points of this company moving forward. At least that's what I wrote down until I found out that Laredo Kid had signed with Impact. But this is a great send-off for him for sure. Easily match of the night. Above and beyond. Probably if I'm going to show you any match from, I think, actually either show, it would probably be Laredo Kid versus Blake Christian. I gave it 4 beers. I think that's the highest I rated anything. I think it was higher than I rated anything on In Your House either. So, 4 beers for me. Laredo Kid versus Blake Christian. Really good match. Where are you at on it?
I'm literally right there with you. I have 4 beers, match of the night. Match of the night for me. Commentary awful, wrestling great. And I had kind of a different note that you had. I said this is more of that Super Juniors X Division style, which is like one of my favorite styles in wrestling. Just I love the innovation, like so much. It's fast paced, but they still like the selling's still there, but they have that tech. It's like the technicality, the fast pace. You got the flips, you got the mat stuff. It was just very good. I didn't like that weird top rope German thing. It was kind of a bad setup, and that was like the only thing that was kind of off for me. But because they pretty much ended it right after that with the finish, which I think kind of saved it. Because if they would have just kept, when people try to redo spots, I hate that shit.
Yeah, naturally,
they just took it home after that. They're like, all right, we kind of fucked up, but they kept it going. And it was great. Blake Christian is fucking amazing, representing Tennessee. I cannot believe excuse me there. I cannot believe what WWE did to him. Signed him for like 6 months and then just fucking
They did the same thing with Zayn too, didn't they?
Same thing with Zayn. It was trash because these dudes are both fucking great, and Alex Zane deserves better. He should have been in a singles match again. Like I said, it should have been Speedball and Alex Zane, because that probably could have rivaled with what this match was. But yeah, fantastic match of the night. Some nice, innovative reversals and like catches and like shit I've never seen. That they blow my mind.
Yeah, it was very good. It was very good for sure. Yeah, let's move on to the main event here. Let's just go ahead and knock it out. It's Joey Janela versus Dr. Wagner Jr. I mean, it's good. It's not my style. I'm a big fan of Janela for sure, but it's just so much crowd brawling, and you can tell that this match is for the crowd. It's just for the live crowd. It has nothing to do with the television presentation, because it wasn't a good TV match. And I think both guys, if they had been directed to do a good bell-to-bell in the ring TV match, they probably could have delivered it really well, and it could have been better than this. But I don't think that's what their narrative was told to them. And I think that they did deliver a more exciting experience for the people in the crowd. But I think it lacked on TV. Again, it was a good match. It just wasn't. It didn't blow me away. And it definitely was not as good as most of Janela's matches have been up to this point. I would have swapped these last 2 matches, actually. If this had been the semi-main and had Laredo Kid versus Blake Christian as the main event, I think it might have flowed better and made more sense. Although, as a booker, to give the devil his due, on paper, I can see why you would have put this as the main event. Not impressed by Wagner Jr. I haven't seen enough of his work outside of this match to really judge him. But for me, this was another 2.5 beer match. It was okay, but not even a little below average, in my opinion. Where are you at on it?
I'm just slightly above you. I went 3 beers right in the middle. And literally what this has reminded me of is just like a classic Southern wrestling fairgrounds main event.
That's fair.
With some extra, basically with some extra hardcore crazy shit sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
Because it's like the brawl of the crowd, bloody, just back and forth, but you had some more chairs, some more theatrics, I say. It was like almost like a WWF hardcore match.
Yeah.
Because it kind literally compared to the rest of this show where there was just so much crazy bullshit going on that made no sense. Like they actually let this match breathe a little bit. They had some time to sell. They had some time to play to the crowd.
Right.
It was almost that Southern wrestling style, like I said, with just a little bit more gaga added. And it wasn't bad at all. Janela put his body on the line. He's a fucking madman. They both got color. They put in some fucking work. It just, like you said, wasn't really a TV match. But if you were there live, I'm sure it was fucking fantastic. And we probably would have rated it even higher if it was just a live reviewed match. But watching it on TV, it just doesn't translate as well. Kind of felt like you were at the fairgrounds. And he kind of looked like the fairgrounds, to be honest.
Yeah, man. I mean, I agree. It was underwhelming. And I think that I understand that GCW has been on this like kind of train where they try to have like every 2 or 3 months where it's a bigger one, and then they have like seems like every other weekend there's like a GCW show, and they're like kind of the smaller TVs. To me, that's a miss. Like to me, you should at least be doing what NWA is doing, where it's just put it on YouTube,
or
like,
what TNA NWA used to do every week.
Yeah. I agree. It should just if you are going to make people pay for it, it needs to be better, and it needs to not be a house show feel. I think they're just losing momentum at this point, and I think it sucks because I do feel like these subpar shows are going to hurt their brand.
They just signed Nick Gage to the only exclusive contract to the company.
That makes sense. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but where else is he going to go? You know what I mean?
Exactly. He is GCW.
Yeah, he is GCW for sure.
MDK all fucking day.
Yeah. That being said, man, I think that like. It's weird because I think Match of the Night was GCW, but I think that of the two shows, I would say that even as bad as it was, 97 was a better show. I don't even know why.
WWF in Chattanooga, Tennessee is the show of the night 100%.
It's weird, too, because I feel like overall the matches got lower ratings. But I think the promos and the continuation or beginning of storylines from that show mattered more to me.
And the commentary. We got Kevin JR.
God, yeah. Yeah, totally. The commentary made a massive difference for sure.
They could have called a match between Spike Dudley and a broom, and we would have been like, oh, my God, great commentary.
Yeah, man. So I think unanimously, this kayfabe comparison, WWF's In Your House Final Four was the winner, although match of the week for both shows was Blake Christian versus Laredo Kid. Next week, we get the return of the Baker's Dozen, and it's regularly scheduled time slot with Mr. Scott Hensley. Wex, do you know much about Scott Hensley?
No, he has a lot to do with Scenic City. Maybe he started it, maybe he didn't, but I know he has a lot to do with it in TWE and action wrestling, and he's a big guy down here in the Southern Tennessee wrestling scene.
Love it.
Responsible for a lot of things, so it'll be a pretty good interview. I know, like I said, action wrestling local wrestler AC Mack, the resident, was the champion there forever. He is the indie wrestling champion at the moment, so I'm sure they'll talk about that a little bit. It should be a pretty good interview. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about the guy at all, so I'm really excited about this. We would be remiss not to mention John Moxley wearing the Akira hoodie that's kind of gone viral on Twitter. We recently just had him on the podcast. If you get a chance, you can check out episode 1 of the Baker's Dozen and hear his interview, Mr. Jesse Baker, with Akira. And it's a good one. It actually
the hoodie was on national live TV.
Yeah, man. That's a big deal.
Because I first saw it, I was like, Akira? Is that just like an Akira the like anime, or is that like Akira the wrestler? And then like I saw it closer, and I was like, oh fuck, I think that's an Akira the wrestler hoodie.
It is indeed. So I'm excited. Next week's going to be awesome. You're going to get a Baker's Dozen, and I'm super hyped for that to have it on the main feed. And then 2 weeks from now, we are covering WWE's Elimination Chamber from Saudi Arabia. So that should be awesome. And we're diving into 1997 from WCW, which is super hype for me. We're going with WCW Super Brawl 7 from 1997. I'm super excited about that. It's been a while since we've covered the 1997 NWO era of WCW. I'm pretty hype. How you feeling about it, Wex?
Ready to get back into it. I love that NWO old stuff because that was a little bit before my time when I first started watching wrestling. So it's good to go back and refresh all those storylines.
Yeah, I'm hype, man. I'm hype. You can always find the show at KayfabeCom pretty much everywhere except for TikTok. It's at KayfabeCom Pod on the TikTok because Wex is an infant when he set it up and was just dummy in the brain. But be sure to
Sorry, man.
be sure to hit us up on YouTube, hit subscribe and like. We're gonna maybe I know, you know what, we're always changing the format up. We're trying to like keep it spicy here. We might be changing the direction of the show here coming up soon. Maybe not. Who knows? We're gonna keep it spicy. So if you get a chance, be sure to follow us on YouTube as well to get the content there. Especially if you are kind of in a hurry and you just kind of want the tea and kind of want just some funny spots from the show. That's the best avenue to find us on, right, Wex?
That is correct. And we're going to be heavy active on YouTube. Even if we change the format up a little bit, we'll still have fun little tidbits, fun little clips on YouTube. We'll keep it going. And next week, AEW Dynamite is going to be coming live from Nashville, Tennessee. It will be my birthday. I'll be out there, probably taking some videos. Maybe I'll make some little blog video type things from being at the live event. We'll upload on the channel too. If we see you out there, maybe we can say hi, drink a beer, take a shot, watch some wrestling.
Yeah, man, it sounds good to me. Happy early birthday, Wex.
Thank you.
I was planning to be there.
31.
I was planning to be there. However, my son has karate on Mondays and Wednesdays. He's currently a gold belt, and he has to test for his orange belt this coming Wednesday.
Well, so you better get that fucking orange belt, baby.
My fatherly duties come first, and I will most certainly be at the belt test and not at Dynamite. But I will watch it for sure. Yeah, I'm hyped, man. You can always find me at Daniel Daybreak everywhere. Literally everywhere. Also, if you want to buy a house and you're in the Southeast, I am back in business full time, working in the full swing of things. I'm just, making dreams come true over here. I am the first time home buyer's agent. So again, too, like, you know what? And you think, I've rented for years. I could never have enough money to buy a house. Bro, holler at me. Hit me up. Guess what? I'm Daniel Daybreak at Gmail too. So you can just shoot me an email, find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, shoot me a DM. I will help you. Or I'll at least tell you, what you might need to get rolling so you can buy a house. Right, Wex?
That's right. And it's your boy Wex breaking the Lawson. I work in a mailroom in a corporate building downtown. And I'm not making any dreams happen for anybody, but I know Daniel can, because I could have got me a loan at one time to get me a little house, but didn't have that down payment. But my credit's better, so next year I'll be hollering at him. But this year you should holler at him, and you should also holler at me at Wex Breaking the Loss on all social medias. And also, like you said, visit that kayfabe comparisons on the YouTube. Let's keep it popping.
That's gonna do it for us this week. We will see you guys next week. We're out.
Peace.